Yo, what is going on, guys? Jeff back here, and in this video we are going to be talking about the new 2023 Z that is soon going to be upon us. We're going to be seeing these cars on the streets before we know it. To say I'm excited is definitely an understatement. As a longtime Z fan, it is so great to see that Nissan is continuing on with this car. Love it or hate it thus far. I think it's great that Nissan acknowledges that the Z has a very large fan base, dedicated fans, and I'm so glad that they care enough about the platform to keep it going like this. Now, we're going to be going over quite a few things. Firstly, my initial thoughts about the car, what I think about it stylistically, performance, all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to get into some really cool renderings that you can see floating around online. I've compiled a nice little group of different wide body renderings, Nismo variations, and things like that that we can expect to see in some form or other when Nissan finally does decide to come out with a Nismo version, which we know will happen. So I'm going to be going over each one of these renderings and kind of picking and choosing which ones I think are the best, in my opinion, stylistically at least. And yeah, we're going to see some other cool things about it, different color variations and just different little miscellaneous things, like what does it look like with louvers, what does it look like with clear taillights. All kinds of cool stuff that I dug around and found, so I'm going to be sharing all that with you guys. So this video is pretty much just a celebration and excitement of the new Z to come, so let's get right into it. Alright, so jumping right in here, you guys are looking at the stock form of the car as it has been revealed at this point. Most of the images that you're going to see in this video, by the way, are going to be renders, though some of them are shots of the actual cars, be it in the proto form or the production form that was revealed back in August. It's a beautiful car, absolutely beautiful car for sure. You can see that they definitely put a lot of work into paying homage to the original 240Z or S30Z, some of you may know it as, and they captured it very well. You can see it's got the sloping back with the long hood, the front fenders that come up above the rear of the car, which is very indicative of the classic Z styling. So definitely captured that, and I'm a fan overall. I think it's again a very beautiful design, almost like a Jaguar F-type of shape, which I appreciate because I think the F-type is a beautiful car. I think that compared to the 350Z or the 370Z, they've managed to kind of capture a little bit more of a spirit of elegance in this car, though I do believe that those two previous generations were also beautiful cars in their own way. This particular Z here, the new one, I think captures it even more. So it's going to look like you're driving something a little higher end than those two previous sports cars. You can obviously see that Nissan was not afraid of taking some extreme measures with the new design here on the new Z, which I really appreciate. I'm glad they were not afraid to change it up a little bit. I think that's exactly what this platform needed, to be completely honest. And we can see that clearly in the taillight section here. That is clearly inspired by the Z32, which is awesome because that car was way ahead of its time when it came out, and I think to this day there are some hardcore Z fans that will say that the Z32 is by far their favorite in design, and I cannot blame them for that because it was way ahead of its time and to this day is still a beautiful, beautiful car. So the fact that they went back to that kind of taillight design is fantastic to see. It shows that they still care about that car, which they rightfully should. And it was implemented very well, in my opinion. It doesn't look bad. This is going to be a car, when you see it on the road, it's just going to be clearly a Z. You're going to see it and go, wow, there's nothing else that looks like that. That is a Z car. So overall, I think the car is beautiful. I think it's a great redesign of the Z. I think most people would also agree, however, that it's not perfect. There are some things that I think could be improved upon, namely like the headlights. That was the first thing when I saw this car revealed in the proto form. I was really, really, really hoping and praying that they would adjust the headlights just a little bit. They've always kind of sat in a weird way for me ever since I saw it, and unfortunately they did not make any changes to the headlights, at least in the general shape of them, when the production version of the car was revealed in August. So that's a little bit of a bummer for me. I do think that the headlights are one of the weaker parts of the design of the car. The front grille of the car, which is what a lot of people will point out first as problematic for them, is actually not as much of a concern to me, because I think that's going to be remedied very quickly with a body kit or something of that nature, or even a mid-cycle refresh on the design. I think is going to bring a better looking front bumper overall, so that is not so much what bothers me. But when it comes to the actual headlights themselves, that's something that has not changed so easily. I imagine that there's going to be some things that are going to be available to spice up the headlights a little bit, maybe something as simple as just eyelids, but even still, it's not necessarily a deal breaker for me. I do think that overall the car is very beautiful. And I will actually say that there are some renders of the car, which you'll be seeing in this video here shortly, that actually change enough of the car to make the headlights no longer such an issue for me. So it could just be as simple as that. The car might just need a certain body kit or something like that to really make me see the headlights in a whole new light. No pun intended. But if I had to say that there was one major problem with the car, it would certainly be the headlights for me thus far. But I don't expect that they're going to remain a problem forever. I think that either they're going to grow on me naturally, or they're going to be enhanced by a body kit or something of that nature. But as I said, I do believe that this is a worthy successor to the Z34. I would love to be able to call this the Z35, but I can't, because technically it is still a Z34, as it is built around, or on top of, I should say, the Z34 platform. So the dimensions of the car are going to be extremely similar to the Z34, if not exact to the Z34. So technically it is still a Z34, but in my heart, I truly believe that this is a worthy successor, and I will always see it as the Z35 unless they finally do come out 10 years from now with an official Z35. This to me is the Z35, and I will probably always consider it so. And the reason I believe that is because this is truly a full evolution. This is not just a little minor step up from the previous 370Z. This is a full-blown, full evolution for the Z platform. First of all, the power plant, we've switched up to a VR30 DDTT twin turbo setup, pushing 400 horsepower and 350 foot-pound torque from the factory, powering the rear wheels, of course, which is a massive step up from the old VQ37 VHR that was in the 370Z. So I am so beyond excited that we are now going back to factory boost in a Z, first time since the Z32. So massive step up in power, and when you combine that with the exterior changes that they made, I mean, can you blame me for saying that this is the Z35 in my opinion? We're taking a look at this little spec sheet here from Nissan, and we can see a nice little side profile there with all your technical specifications. As I said, the actual dimensions of the car are going to be pretty much right on par with the 370Z, because it does use the 370Z platform, but aside from that, there's almost nothing that's identical on this car at all. Alright, so with my general thoughts about the car out of the way, let's move into looking at some of these cool renders that you can find online. Now, when this car was revealed, when Nissan finally put out the proto to the world, man, you just know that there was so many people that wanted to play with it. They wanted to see what it would look like with a wide body kit, with these wheels, with those wheels, with this color, that color. So there is a wealth of different renders that you can find online, and I just went and picked and chose a bunch of different varieties of different renders, from more mild stuff like lip kits and things of that nature to more extreme stuff like wide body kits, of course, and even some concepts of GT cars that you could expect to see in some professional GT races. So a little bit of everything in there, and of course in all different kinds of colors and stuff like that. So I think there's going to be something in here for everybody. But let's go through some of these. I'm going to talk about what I like about some of them and which ones I don't like in particular. There's a few in there that I don't care for, but let's go and see what we can find, and maybe use our imagination a little bit to see what's the most realistic for what we can expect to see in the future for this car. Now, for most of these renders, I was able to find the actual creators of the renders themselves. On some of them I was not able to, but I'm going to try to give credit where credit is due for these renders. These guys work very hard to make these renders and put them out online, and I love to be able to give them the recognition that they deserve for that. So for most of these, I will say who the renderer, I guess, or the artist was, I should say, and we'll go from there. But not every one of them I was able to find, so please excuse me if you see your render in this video and you don't get credit for it. I do apologize for that. I just wasn't able to find your name. So let's get into it here. So these renders are not in any particular order, but I am going to kind of move from the least modified into more of the more extreme modified cars, kind of in that order, loosely I'll say. But we're going to start right here, and I thought this was a great one to start on because this is a fantastic base for what I think that this car, the potential of this car is before getting into wide bodies and all that. I think that what you're looking at here in this car is so clean, a great example of right off the bat what you can do with this car very quickly. A nice set of bronze TE37 wheels with a very mild carbon fiber lip kit. Looks like little mini extensions on the side skirts. It's not too much, it's very subtle, but just enough to add a little bit more presence to the car. I like the wing in the back. Unfortunately, we don't have a rear shot of this particular render, but it looks like the wing is just the perfect height in the back. And the bar in the front, you can see on the front bumper there that it has that little bar that's extending across the grille, which I think is just game-changing on this car. You're going to see that in a couple of these other renders as well. But I think that that is actually something that Nissan should have implemented themselves. It is a callback to the original 240Z, and it just looks so darn good. It looks fantastic. I mean, especially with the white color of the car too. You can see the artist here has added the little DRLs that you see typically on the 370Z Nismo bumpers, so that's a nice little touch. You can see it would probably be implemented a little bit cleaner than you see in the render here if this was a real car, but I love what I'm seeing. I think this is a great benchmark, good standard for what people can expect a clean 2023 Z is going to look like. I love it. And like I said before, as I was talking about the headlights don't even look bad to me in this render. They're the same headlights, but just the very subtle modifications that have been made to the front end of the car and the stance have actually improved the look of the headlights themselves. So there's a perfect example of that. And moving on, we have another simple one, but another great example of how it's not going to take very much to make these cars look amazing. This one is by Yacide Design. This guy has got a couple of renders, another one that I'm going to showcase a little bit further along here. But this was his more subtle of the two designs of his that I was able to find online. And I just love the little subtle improvements that he made. I love the side skirt. I love how he extended it down there with that little bit of a, looks like carbon or maybe even just a gunmetal metallic paint on the extension to the side skirt there. Looks fantastic. It adds just a little bit more presence to the base of the car. Same thing up and through the front with that little carbon fiber lip he's got there is just enough, not too much, not too overbearing. Great color. He deepened the blue, added a little bit more of a metallic sheen to the paint color, which also looks fantastic. And the wheels, of course, I don't like the look of that particular wheel, but the color of the wheel also plays very nicely into the overall package of this car here. So here's just another great example, similar to the last one, of how great these cars can look with very little, just a nice stance setup and a good color combination with very subtle aero enhancements, and you're going to have yourself a great looking Z. And for you Roadster fans, here is the next one up. It's the same exact car as the one we just saw, done by the same artist, Yacide Design. Only this is the Roadster form. This is something that we can expect a Roadster version of the 2023 Z to look like. And while I'm not a Roadster fan myself personally, I've never thought that any of the previous Z Roadsters were very good looking cars. I have to say this one is looking pretty dang clean. I do notice that on this particular version of the car that's been rendered here by Yacide, that he has extended out the front nose of the car just a little bit there in the front bumper. And that really makes the front end of this car look so long, and it actually looks very cool to me. I think that is actually a benefit to the overall look of the car, at least the Roadster version here. It just looks very sleek and very good, and it pays even more homage to the classic 240Z, which is very iconic for its very long hood and sloping nose. So I think that is actually a very cool little design cue. I actually missed that on the blue one, on the coupe version that we just saw, but I noticed it very clearly here in the Roadster version. So yeah, this looks very cool, and I can honestly say that if this were to be brought into production by Nissan, that they would sell quite a few of these, because it's just a sexy looking ride. I know for sure if I saw it, I'd I'd have my eyes glued on it, especially in this silver color. You cannot go wrong with that color. Alright, these next couple of renders are still going to be pretty simple. We're slowly moving our way up the modification scale, but these next ones are going to be by Brad Builds, very well-known CG artist that has done a lot of different wide body concepts and body kit concepts for many different cars, so you probably have heard of Brad Builds. These are going to be a sampling of a couple of his more simple 2023 Z ideas that he's had, and the first one is going to be this white one here. It's very cool. He's made some subtle changes to the front bumper. You can see the actual mouth of the bumper has changed from the stock version. It's almost got a shape more like a GT86 or an FRS, which actually looks pretty darn good. I like it. The lip kit on the car is very standard of Brad Builds. He likes to put this type of a lip kit on it. Nice little carbon fiber lip on the bottom and a nice side splitter. Looks great. I love that. I don't know how I feel about the venting on the lower portion of the front fender behind the front wheel, or the air intake just in front of the rear wheel. I don't know how I feel about those. They don't look like they really go with the rest of the aesthetic of the car. That rear air intake there by the rear wheel, it's at such a strange angle for me. I guess maybe he was trying to match the door line there perhaps, or I don't really know, but that just doesn't work for me at all. And again, the detailing on the lower portion of the front fender as well, it just looks out of place. It doesn't look like it matches the smoothness of the rest of the car for me, but nice white color against this wheel. I like the color combination on the wheels with the polished lip, and it looks like a nice bronze spoke. Not a fan of the design of the wheel, but the color combination is fantastic against the white of the car. And he's also got a set of louvers on the back here. These are really thick slats there on the louvers, so that gives you an idea of what a thick slat louver would look like on it. It plays great with the black roof of the car. I think it looks awesome. If I owned one of these cars, which who knows, I might in the future, I like it that much, I definitely would be going for some louvers on that. I'm a big louver fan. Very simple little wing setup on the back. That might even be the factory wing that you see on the Z Proto. I'm not sure about that, but it's very simple and subtle nevertheless. Overall, yeah, it's cool. I'm not a fan of those little vents and stuff like that, but yeah, here's just another example of what a nice clean design aesthetic would look like on the new Z. And this next one is going to essentially be the same car. This is by Brad Builds once again, and it's the same car only in red, and the front bumper has been changed to a Rocket Bunny influenced deal. That is just a big no for me. Right off the bat, I'm just going to tell you guys, this is not looking good to me at all. If this was a real body kit, man, I'd throw it in the trash as quickly as I could. I wouldn't touch this to save my life. I just don't like it at all. I think it's not complimentary. It's cool just to see the concept of it, I suppose, and I think that he wasn't really being real serious about it. He's done much better work than this, so I think he probably threw this together in probably just a matter of minutes. But it was enough for me to say, man, this is not, not complimentary to the car at all. So if I had to choose between the white car and this one, man, the white one all day long, and this bumper can go right in the trash. Okay, we're getting a little bit more modified here. We are sticking with Brad Builds. This is a little bit of an evolution to his initial designs that you just saw, and this is getting a lot closer to the wheelhouse that I like. This is definitely looking really, really good. We got stock front bumper, so no change in the front bumper, but you got the lip kit there, and he's added some really nice, tasty little Fender Flares there, and a set of Watanabe wheels, which is just mint. Love those wheels. He's also moved the mirrors up to the fenders, which is a great classic callback to the original 240Z as well. Initially, I would not have thought that type of mirror style would look good on this or any modern car, really, but after seeing this photo, it looks pretty good. It's passable for sure. I wouldn't do this myself, but I think the mirrors do look cool up there. You'll probably see that on a couple of other renders also in this list to come. Nice little wing we see in the back there. It looks nice and tasty again, like I said. It's got the same louvers on it that we saw. Cool little exhaust setup down here. Nice little diffuser. Can't really make out too much of the detail of the diffuser itself, but it looks good. Looks put together pretty nice, and it complements the rest of it. I like the color on this too. It's a really nice kind of a pearl hunter green or something like that, and it lends itself great. My favorite part about this is the Watanabe wheels and those little Fender Flares, of course. It just looks great. It's very simple. It's not overdone. I could see this car at a parking area in Japan, no problem, on the Wangan, on the side of the Wangan, and it would fit right in, no problem. I think that this car in particular would look great again with the black roof. I don't know why the roof was switched to body color for this particular car, but the black roof would look fantastic, and a carbon hood would look amazing on this as well to match with the carbon mirrors on the side. Would look awesome. Love this one. And this one here is the same exact car, only in the classic Datsun Racing livery, which looks fantastic. I absolutely love this. I think that the red coming over the hood like that actually improves the whole front end of the car. It actually makes the front bumper look a lot better in my opinion, despite the fact that the front bumper remains unchanged. Just that little subtle color difference actually adds a lot to it and makes even the headlights themselves and the headlight area look a little bit better and more defined. So it just goes to show you how even a livery or color choices in a car's overall design can have a big effect. And it looks good. I like the red on the front of the lip there too. It looks very cool. All right, so taking another step up the customization ladder here, we're gonna get more into some more wide body type of stuff now. We're gonna go back over to Yacide Designs, and I gotta say that this was the first rendering that I saw of the new Z that really put the car on the map for me. It made me really think very seriously, because initially I was thinking, I may not get one of those. I may wait for a mid-cycle refresh or something like that. But when I saw this render for the first time, man, it really blew me away. And it could just be the color combination, but I really think that the way that he did this was fantastic. First of all, the color, the gold and the carbon, man, what a great color combination. And again, just like Brad Builds was using on those last two that I liked, he's got the Watanabe wheels, which is a classic Z wheel. For those of you guys, all of you fans of Wangan Midnight especially, will know that the Watanabe is just such a classic wheel for the classic Zs, and looks good here as well. Against the gold and the black, or the carbon I guess I should say. It's not really a black, but it's a carbon, exposed carbon look with the gold. It looks so good. The Fender Flares are not necessarily real substantial. They're not crazy detailed or anything like that. They're kind of like the previous ones that we've just seen, but look a little bit more integrated into the body itself and provide just enough width, in my opinion, to make the car look really menacing. This is the same guy that did the Roadster that we saw a few cars back, and the blue one just before that. And I had noted that the nose of the car was extended out a little bit more. You can see here that the same applies for this render as well, especially on the side profile here. You can see how he extended out the upper portion of the front bumper to hang over the bottom portion there, and I think it looks really darn good. It adds a lot more aggression to the front end of the car and improves the overall look of the hood and the headlights and everything. It just looks great. And here's another example of the side mirrors being mounted up on the front fenders, which like I said with the last one, I think does look very good. These are a little bit more of a modern type of a look of a side mirror as opposed to the more classic round looking ones that we previously saw. And I like the modern ones, I really do. I think it looks even better. So definitely cool there. He's got the louvers in the back, which look fantastic. This is a thinner slat than the thick slat ones that we saw last time. So this is actually more of the type of louver that I prefer as opposed to the real thick slats. And I love this ducktail wing on it. It's the perfect height, perfect angle and everything. I think it looks awesome. So this was definitely the first render. When I saw this, it just blew me away and really made me heavily consider picking up one of these cars at some point. Okay, and this next one, I gotta say, is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite on the entire list. It is just so beautiful, and I think many people would agree with me. I've heard so much praise about this particular render, just how it came off. There's even an animation that you can find of this render online that it just confirms how good this looks in motion. Just look at this. This looks insane. This looks so good. This is my idea of what a good looking 2023 Z would look like. It's got the wide body, of course. The fenders, though you may not be able to notice it at first glance, it does have wider fenders on it, but they're integrated so well. This is what I would consider like an aim gain style of wide body, where it's integrated so well into the initial design of the car that people that are not in the know would probably not even realize that the car has got a wide body kit on it. It's executed so perfectly. We have a new front bumper that is just insane looking. Very similar to the stock one in many regards, but at the same time is radically different. The dimensions are just so slightly extended more into a mid to long nose style. But that bar in the front that I was describing before on the white car back at the beginning has been added here, and it looks so good. It's incredible. It would look good without it as well, but with it, it just completes this whole thing. I love how it was finished in a polished look, just like the classic, the original 240Z. And then we have these really cool DRLs in the front, the LED lights that look great as well, perfectly positioned there in my opinion, with just the right lip kit on it, great side skirt extension, and the wing in the back looks so good. Another example of the mirrors mounted up on the hood, that's working great. It would also look good with the standard position for the side mirrors there. Black wheels with a polished lip, I mean yellow brake calipers. Man, this just checks all the boxes for me as far as a good looking 2023 Z. So this is one of my favorite renders, if not my favorite render that we're gonna see in this video. So major props to AV Design for really nailing it. Him and I definitely hear the beat of the same drum. All right, so this next one is very cool. It's not quite as detailed as some of the other renders that are on this list, but very cool nevertheless. You can clearly see right off the bat that it is inspired by the Devil Z from Wangan Midnight, which is fantastic because I'm a huge fan of Wangan Midnight, as I have said before previously, and so I absolutely love that somebody took the time to make this rendition of the new Z here. Now there is a couple of cool little unique details that you will see in this design that is not on any of the other renders on this list, and that is in the headlight area. If you look very closely, you can see that the artist here, Dandy, he actually took the headlight cap and extended it all the way down, and that is very reminiscent of the old caps that you could buy for the old Datsun 240Z that extended all the way down to the bumper line. So that is very cool that he tried to kind of tap back into that design. It does make the headlight look like it's a lot bigger. It almost looks kind of cartoonish. So it's not something that that I would see on the actual car, but for the sake of this render and for the sake of the homage of the original, very cool to see it. I imagine at some point or other somebody will attempt to do this or make some sort of an altered headlight cap that will fill more of that bumper space, but probably won't be for a little while at least. But nevertheless, it's cool to see it. And of course, he's got the Watanabe wheels on there. Those are accurate to the Devil Z as well. And the wide body kit is pretty unique. It's almost RWB-ish a little bit, especially in through the rear flare there. It looks very good. The little rear wing in the back looks awesome too. I wish we had a rear view of this one, but we don't, unfortunately. And the front bumper is pretty cool too. It actually kind of reminds me of like an Evo bumper, like an Evo 10 type of bumper with the inlets that are in the upper portion of the bumper there. It looks very cool. I like the square cut jaw look of it. It's a very cool render. I like it quite a bit. In fact, as simple as it is, very cool, and it definitely gives me Wangan Midnight vibes, so it gets major points for that. Moving along, this next one is going to be very brief because there's really not a lot to see on it. This is an IMSA or IMSA inspired design here for the new Z, and it's very cool. This is by Abimelech Design. Right away, you know, the wing is going to be the standout thing on this one. It's got a very cool classic retro style of wing on it, so I love to see that. It looks great on this particular car, I think. Looks a little bit like some of the cars you'd see in Cyberpunk. In fact, if you're familiar with some of those cars, there's some cool looking cars that have that sort of wing, and it's pretty cool. But the most notable thing about this particular render is that the car has clear taillights, clear style taillights. Definitely something that I think we can expect to see in the real. Eventually, there's going to be some company that's going to make clear versions of the taillights. So this is kind of a little sneak peek at what that's going to look like. I don't know that I would run these if I had the car, but it is cool to see them. I think that if there was some kind of red added to the taillight a little bit, somewhat similar to how the JDM clear taillights are for the last two previous generations, the Z33 and the Z34, then I think I would be a lot more enticed to get some if I had this car. But all clear was never really my thing. I always like to see a little bit of red in there, so As they sit, I probably wouldn't get these, but it's still cool to see them nonetheless, and I know a ton of people would want to get these. The rest of this render is fairly unremarkable as far as I'm concerned. The front end really, in my opinion, wasn't even worth showing because it's kind of just a disaster. But if you do want to see what the front end of this particular render looks like, just search Abimelech Design Z on Google and you'll get the front view of it as well. But I didn't see the point because it doesn't look good at all, in my opinion. So let's move on to the next one. Now moving further up the ladder here with our customization, we're now starting to see some wide body action going on here. This car right here is by an artist by the name of Rostislav Prokop. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly, but very cool render of the new Z here. This is a great looking wide body kit in my opinion. Great looking front lip as well. I think it looks really good. He's got some cool details in the front fender there. If you look at some of these shots here that you can see on the side profile, he's got almost a Varis-like type of an extension extending from the bottom portion of the front fender there to the side skirt in the front, which is awesome. I love that design detail. Rear fender also looks great. It's not so thick in the back that it looks too boxy. It actually still forms the shape of the car very well, but has this really nice vent detail in the back end. I thought it was just great. He did a great job maintaining the overall proportion of the car, but still giving it that armored wide body look that I personally love. He had designed his own wing there for it too. Looks very cool. It's a good design, simple, but not as simple as just a regular ducktail. He actually added a little bit more detail than you would see on a standard ducktail there, and I think he did a great job with the overall size of it. It's not too much, it's not too little, it's just right. On the yellow example here, there's a yellow example and a white example, but on the yellow one he's got nice black wheels on it, nice multi-spoke mesh style, which I think looks great. I would prefer, of course, if there was more lip on the wheel. Of course, the coloring on these cars, both the yellow and the white one, is unique in that we have a lot of the front end covered in the black, which is pretty interesting. I would think that there would be more of the car, maybe even through the back, or the side skirts would be more black as well to kind of match how much black is in the front bumper. But really that's just color stuff. It's not really consequential to the design of the kit, and that I do think is very cool. It's got some nostrils in the front bumper there as well that look pretty good. Great in both yellow and in white. I really don't have anything to complain about. I think that if this was a real kit on this, it would be great and be pretty popular in my opinion. Did a great job with the design of this one. Alright, this next one here is probably the roughest of all the renders in the list here, but it's still very cool nevertheless, and plenty enough to see what's going on and see what kind of design the artist intended here. And the first thing right off the bat that I want to say about this one by Mamiya Motors is that it is very, very inspired by Rocket Bunny. You can clearly see that in the rear fender here. That is, to me, when I see that, I just immediately get the vibe of the Rocket Bunny version 1 rear fender for the FRS or BRZ. Very similar like that, very similar shape to it. And in the front fender there is very clearly inspired by a A90 Supra Rocket Bunny, or a Pandem rather, over fender. So very Rocket Bunny / Pandem inspired on this, which is cool. That's great. I think he translated it very well to the shape of the new Z, and it looks good. I would love to see this render more fully completed, some better resolution, but it looks really good, especially when the wheels are on it and it's got proper stance and everything. It looks fantastic. The front bumper too is something that you might expect from like a Pandem, with the mouth that's clearly been extended, made a little bit larger. Very present bottom lip there, you see. It's definitely something that makes the front bumper look a lot more menacing. The canards are a great final little touch to add just enough to that front bumper so it's not too plain. And the hood there looks pretty cool too. It's got a nice little custom hood with a reverse inlet, which is pretty uncommon, so that looks good. Again, I would love to see a more complete version of this render and maybe more angles, maybe the rear bumper a little more complete. But yeah, it looks good. I like it a lot. I don't think that the actual Rocket Bunny / Pandem kit for the new Z is going to be like this. I think they're going to want to do something more extreme. Kei Miura is recently, he's been really kind of experimenting. If you're looking at his latest designs, like the latest 180SX kit, he's experimenting with new styles. I really think he's trying to break out of his own rut a little bit, and so I think that we can expect his actual kit for the car to be quite different than this. This is what I think that the Pandem Rocket Bunny kit would look like if this car came out 5 years ago. So it's cool to see it in that regard. Overall, very cool render, and I hope we get a more complete version soon. All right, going back over to Brad Builds. He has made no fewer than 3, maybe 4 different renditions for this car. Here is his primary wide body offering for this car, and if you're familiar with Brad Builds' other builds for other cars, then you'll know that his wide body style is it's fairly specific to him. He kind of follows the same design cues for all of his designs, and he likes to build kind of boxy, kind of Fender Flares, which some people absolutely love because he can get away with extreme width, especially in the back. He can get away with some really wild width and wheel fitment and stuff like that, so he gets praised a lot for that. That's cool. I totally understand. For me personally, I'm not a big fan of really boxy Fender Flares. I just personally think that they're kind of lazy. They do look cool, there's no doubt about that. Definitely cooler than stock. But when it comes down to it, for me personally, I like to see more design in a Fender Flare, more symmetry with the body, and I just don't think that you can get that very well with a really boxy type of a Fender Flare. But you know, to each their own. Like I said, some people absolutely love it. I just think that there's so much more you can do than just put right angles, you know, on your flares and leave it at that. Yeah, a lot of width is cool, that's great, it looks good, but design the fenders, like design them so that it doesn't look like it's just tacked on there, like somebody just went and tacked on some boxes onto the side so they could fit bigger wheels. Now it sounds like I'm being extremely harsh with this, and I don't mean that for that to be the case. I'm just speaking honestly, just my opinion. This car looks fantastic. This wide body kit is actually, there's 3 different variations of the kit that we're going to be seeing here. This yellow one is the primary one, and it's wingless. You see there's no wing on the back, which is cool. A lot of people do like the wingless look. He's also added a lot more detail in through the side skirts there. I love the side skirts on this, and the front lip is basic but effective. You know, this car would clearly be bagged. There's no way in heck he's going to be driving this static. Another thing that I really don't like about this is whatever the heck is going on the hood there. You see these little 2 rails that are moving along the hood, and that's something that I've seen in other designs as well, and I don't know where that's coming from. It must be some kind of a throwback to maybe some old race car that had that or something. I have no idea who is starting to bring this back or why it's gaining popularity again, if it ever was popular. I really don't know, but it does not belong on this car or on any others. I've seen some other wide body concepts of other cars where they've put those on there as well, and it just baffles me. I don't know why those are there. Maybe they serve some kind of a functional purpose, I don't know, but I'm not a fan at all. But overall, I think that this kit is cool. Like I said, it's better than stock, but not my favorite wide body by a long shot for this thing. I just think that the flares are too boxy, and it definitely does need a wing. So let's move over to one of the other variations of this. We're now going to be looking at a green one. So this is the same kit or close to it, and there's going to be a couple of key differences. Number one, the mirrors are going to be moved up to the fenders. It's going to have the classic mirror position there, which is cool. It looks good on this wide body. We got a different set of wheels, which are not as good as the first wheels. The first ones, which I forgot to mention, were, if not actually Workmeister M1s, are very close to Workmeister M1, which is my favorite wheel. So the wheels on that yellow one are perfect. And these wheels are not bad either. The ones on the green one are very nice too. The other main difference that you're going to see is, of course, this wing, and this is a almost a Supra A90 inspired wing setup. It's got the ducktail and then the TRD-ish looking wing, A90 style wing in the back, and I think it looks awesome. Looks very cool. It fits with the overall aesthetic of the car. We still got those boxy fender flares. Not anything that is very complimentary to the car in my opinion, but the wing setup is very cool, and the green color looks nice, especially with those wheels with the gold spoke and the polished lip. And the last rendition is going to be a black one, which he took it one step even further. Same general wide body kit, but you're going to see a few new details here as well. If you look at the front lip, he's added some new little strakes there in between the factory bumper and the lip there, so the lip actually looks a little bit lower. It may just be the angle of it. I'm not sure if it's actually intended to be lower. The weird rails remain on the hood, but the hood itself looks like it's got some new ducting as well, which actually looks pretty good. I just wish those rails weren't there. And then he's added some new fins to the lower portion of the front fender. If you look just behind the front wheel, he's added some new little fin canardish type of details in there. And those look kind of odd to me. They just look like more little boxes that he's put under there, more square detail. And square is just, with a car like the new Z that's designed to look very round and very organic, square is just going to be very contrasting. So you want to avoid square or overly square shapes. Just my opinion, but it just doesn't translate well to me. And there's going to be many that are going to disagree, but I think that this whole kit is just way too square. And again, we have the wing in the back. Nice set of louvers though. You can see the louvers on the back of the black one look really good. So definitely a cool car. If you were to see this on the road, I'm sure it would look way better than the render, but definitely not my favorite wide body design. Okay, and here is a cool little departure, kind of a departure. It's definitely going to be a different vibe for sure. And here is our first look at what a Bosozoku style new Z is going to look like, and it's very cool, very radical, super Shakotan low-down style with this, something that you would see in the depths somewhere in Japan, about as stanced as it possibly gets. I mean, he's riding on the tires in the render here, and low to the ground. There's literally no gap between the car and the ground itself. So this is a car that you would probably imagine would be static. In Japan, that's just how those guys roll a lot of the time. There's just no F's given type of deal. And lots of Bosozoku style styling here with the super bulbous fender flares. Of course, definitely have exposed hardware on those. That's just all the rage, man. Oil cooler in the front, man, is classic with the splitter rods. You got the stars for the tail lights, man. That is just signature Bosozoku style. The exhaust, you got the blast pipes. We've got the massive ducktail there, which I actually think looks pretty darn cool. Even if it were on a you know, a more tame style of Z, I think that wing would actually look pretty darn good. And then the last cool little touch that I like is the old style chromed out mirrors with the little bitty stands on them. I think is a very cool stylistic touch. Very cool wheels, Bosozoku style wheels as well with the tire lettering. Man, it goes so good. This is a very cool car, to be completely honest. It oozes style, probably more than any of the others on this list. Is just the style and the character is just out in full force on this one. Got a few different colors too. You can see it in white here. This is really cool white version of it. And then we have a couple here with different liveries that are just telltale Bosozoku style, especially this one here in the orange and the yellow with the horns coming down there, man, and the ground effects kit, the lip kit and everything. That is just telltale Bosozoku in the heart exhaust. That is that's very cool. So I'm really glad somebody took the time to make this and give us a little glimpse of what this would look like in Bosozoku style. We may never see this in real life. These cars are just way too new and way too expensive for anybody, even in Japan, I think, to do this, at least for a little while. We may see it at some point way down the line when these cars are, you know, they dip down into the affordable range, but for the time being, we're not going to be seeing this anytime soon. So it's very cool to see this little glimpse of what this would look like. Okay, this next one is actually one of the smoother, one of the cleaner kits that we're going to see, or offerings I should say, for design for the new Z. This is by Walter Kim. To my knowledge, I think this is the only design that he's done for the car, but man, in my opinion, he doesn't need to make any more because this one is great. So he's basically just taken the shape of the car as it is and just kind of exaggerated it a little bit. So he made a great looking wide body. This actually makes the car look a little bit more like a Z32, and that may be what he was kind of going for. Kind of bring back the original proportion of the Z32, especially if you're looking at that rear quarter view right there. I get so many Z32 vibes from that, seeing those tail lights and that little wing that comes up like that he designed. And then that rear diffuser in the back just looks so Z32 to me. I really think that this is a great looking wide body, great molded look to it. It just gives the car a little bit of extra length without going too overboard. There's no unnecessary body lines, there's no exposed hardware. Definitely a purpose-built kit, and this would be a very pricey option if this were a real kit. A couple other little touches that would be easy to miss if you weren't looking for them is the side mirrors that he chose to go with there. Kind of a very modern, almost a supercar style side mirror that adds just a little bit more elegance to the overall design. The front bumper was left primarily in the stock configuration, but it was just kind of blended in a little bit more with a very nice, well-shaped front lip there. I think that's probably my favorite front lip thus far that I've seen on any of these renders. Nice, great, deep spec wheels. A lot of lip on the wheels. It looks great. He's filling up those arches completely. And then lastly, he's topped it off with a very tasty little roof spoiler on the top, which I just love. I love roof spoilers and louvers and things like that. Not enough people play off of the roof of the car, and I think that's a shame because you can add so much character with something coming off the roof of the car as well, and he's nailed that perfectly. We also have an example of the same kit, same car in a yellow color, so you can see what it would look like in that color. Beautiful looking render. Okay, we got just a few more to go through here. This one is by Muss Artwork. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Muss Artwork. And this is definitely more of a well put together, more of a realistic looking type of a wide body kit. I can tell this guy spent a lot of time making this look as authentic and ready for production as he possibly could. Definitely a pretty cool looking kit for sure. Another one that would be quite popular if it were real, although again, there's a couple of things on it that I just don't agree with. If you look at the side profile, the little picture on the top there, the back part of the front fender just does not sit well with me at all. I don't like how it curves down and back in toward the front wheel like that. It's just a very awkward looking body line, and I can't say that I agree with it at all. I think that if it came even down square or just came down to meet the door line there and then came just straight down vertically, I think it would look a lot better as opposed to rounding it out like that. I'm sure many people may disagree, but for me it doesn't work. Another thing that's kind of odd to me is the little fins he has on the top of the rear fender there. I just don't even know what's going on there. He's got like little Wolverine claws or something, and it throws me off. Like, I'm not sure. It would be cool if it was like one extra little fin coming up, but 3 separate little fins like that is just like way too much going on. It just seems like those would break off like really quickly, if you ask me. Awesome side skirts, great front lip in the front, and I love the canards, so definitely he gets points for those. But the fenders on this one are just, they're just okay. Like, the back end is cool. The back end of the fender flare is pretty neat. It definitely is better than the front fender, but overall, not a kit that I would ever get. It would require a lot of modification, in my opinion, to get it right. But cool wheels on it. As I always say, I'm not a fan of all polished wheels, but the design of the wheel is cool and seems to fit the car very well. And I like the red Nismo style pinstriping. It's cool. Alright, this next one is very cool. I like this one a lot. It is one of my favorites for sure. This is by an artist by the name of Javier Oquendo, and this is probably the closest that we're going to get thus far to what a Varis wide body kit would look like on the new Z. This is very inspired by and very similar to a lot of the kits that Varis has made for recent cars, such as the FRS 86, 370Z with the Kamikaze kit, the new Civic Type R. They made a kit that's like this, and you're going to see very defining design cues such as the ridges along the fender flares that is very Varis type of style, and it translates really well over to the new Z. They also offer a lot of really radical looking canard and front lip side skirt offerings as well, so it's right in line with that. And the hood looks very Varis inspired as well. In through the back, man, it just looks fantastic. There was another car that I had related to Cyberpunk previously, and this one I would say the same, is giving me very Cyberpunk type of vibes. That rear wing is actually great. I really like it a lot. and the way the taillights and even the emblem in the back are lit up, I think, are fantastic little elements to this design to make it really pop. The Nismo red pinstriping looks good. I like how it follows the curvature of the exhaust ports there, and just the small little vent openings that you can see just below the taillights in the bumper there are just great. They look good. They're not out of place. They're properly sized and probably quite functional as well. So very beautiful touch there. Love the connection between the bumper and the over fender there in the rear and in the front. Great design in the rear portion of the front fender with those little bitty kind of built-in bulging canards there. I think look very organic and very cool. It definitely complements the shape of the Z. Side skirt is fantastic as well. Nice chunky thick side skirt to make everything blend together and tie together. And standard mirror placement on this, which is definitely something that I would agree with. I don't think that the fender mounted mirrors would work with this kit, so I like that he kept the mirrors in their factory position. And the wheel setup on this render is pretty darn cool as well. I can't say that I've ever seen a wheel quite like this before, at least not on a car like this. And it's dang cool, man. It definitely ties everything together. It gives it a very extreme type of look. I was smiling, man, from cheek to cheek when I found this render, because it's just it's amazing. Very high marks for this one. Mr. Oquendo, you did an awesome job. If you happen to see this video, I love your render, and I hope to God that Varis pulls out something similar to this when they inevitably make their own kit. Good job, man. Okay, and this next one is by Low5100W. I think that's how you say it. LOW5100W on Instagram. And here you go, basically just a new Z with a Liberty Walk LC500 wide body kit. And yeah, it works. It works really well. I think that it's a good translation. Front fender maybe needs a little bit of work. It looks a little skinny there over the top of the arch. But aside from that, I love the rear. The rear looks dope. That vent that is on the LC500 kit translates beautifully over to the new Z, and the wing is pretty darn good also. Got a couple of different color variations here. We've got the one with more of a livery style, some nice TE37 with some lips on those wheels, looks great in the black, and then the yellow one with the more maybe work VSXXs or possibly Workmeister M1 with the step lip there, looks great on the all yellow version. The little canards on the side of the front bumper look good too. Good standard front lip and good side splitters. So this is a cool render. It works for me. It really does. I'm not sure I would have thought that the LC500 Liberty Walk kit would have translated quite as nicely, but yeah, it looks good. I would absolutely take that front fender and extend it up to the body line there. If you're looking at that body line that starts from the door handle in the back there and moves toward the front, raising upward, take that front fender and bring it up to that body line and create the attachment points along that body line. It is just simple design principle. When I see that, that is the first thing that stuck out to me. But if that adjustment was made, this would be a fantastic looking kit. Maybe add a little bit of extra detail where the fender connects to the front bumper there. But aside from that, you know, this wouldn't take very much work at all to make this a very good looking wide body kit. All right, we're getting close to the end here. I just have a couple of more cars to show you and talk about, and we're gonna move right now into this one right here, which is cool. It is by Flat Hat 3D. He's done a lot of work for a lot of different cars, a lot of rendering work, and fairly well known online, so you've probably seen this one. Very similar to Walter Kim's that we saw, the white and the yellow ones, in that it's very clean, it's very seamless, it's just an extension of the stock body, just a little bit more exaggerated, which is great. When you push out those rear fenders a little bit more, give it a little bit more of an aggressive stance, and then just a little bit wider in the front, it is just always going to look fantastic, and this car proves it here. It's a total conversion type of kit. In fact, this is a lot more going on here than just simple bolt-on fender flares. If somebody were to make this specific car in real life, this would take a lot of fabrication work. There's no doubt about it, because the entire width of the car has been extended. There's nothing been just bolted on to the car. Just the whole thing has been rebuilt essentially. If you look in through the back there, you can see that the width has extended out past the tail lights and the wing actually curves down into it. This is very like Viperish. So a lot of work would need to go into the car in order to actually achieve this kit, but you know, if it was ever pulled off, it would be absolutely stunning for sure. He's got a very cool little diffuser there that he's put on the bottom of the rear bumper, which is very effective. No need to go crazy with the rear wing. That little ducktail is all that it needs, and the front fender is just a nice, beautiful little poke out from the standard fenders. So great job with that, not overdoing it. You know, a lot of times it's what you don't do when you're trying to design. It's easy to over design. And knowing when to rein it in a little bit and just go a little more subtle is actually a part of the skill of being a good designer. So I can definitely see that Flat Hat here is very skilled with what he's doing. That also extends to the use of these wheels, the TE37s in black against this really dark gunmetal color. So clearly he's got good taste in wheels and color as well. You guys know me, if you follow me and you know Xylus, then you'll know how much I love dark gray on Z's. It is just, it's my jam. So he gets high marks for that. Great looking car, but if this were to be pulled off in real life, it would require a massive amount of work. All right, this next artist, I am about 100% sure that almost every one of you guys have heard of John Sabal. He, of course, has dipped his pen into the ink for the new Z here and has put out a couple of really wild renders. First being his Nismo offering that you can see right here. This is what he would imagine a mildly tuned Nismo version of the new Z would look like, and I think he's pretty close to the mark, honestly. If we had to guess what is a Nismo Z going to look like, it's going to be something like this, obviously. He chose, of course, white, the classic Nismo color, the white and the black trim with the red pinstriping is very Nismo. And just a real nice mild tune on it, like a Voltex wing in the back there with the TE37s. The Super Street sticker on the windshield, which is a very nice touch, and the John Sabal banner. And a nice little bit of black detailing on the hood. We can't see that very well, but you can see that it's there. And I think it just looks great. It's a great tidy package, and something that I think is, again, very close to what we can expect to see when Nismo comes out with their official model of the car. And his next offering takes the car from standstill to about 1 billion miles an hour real quick. This is his full GT inspired rendering of the car, and it just looks like, you know, Nissan could have put this out as an official piece of artwork for their GT car. I mean, I don't really have anything to even say about this. It just looks so amazing, so radical. And if the GT car doesn't look exactly like this, it's going to look dang close to this when it debuts on the circuit for real. Okay, and finally, we have a little slideshow of about 3 or 4 different renders here of what the new Nismo version of the new Z could supposedly look like. Nobody knows for sure what the Nismo is going to look like, but we do know that there will be a Nismo version of the new Z, and so we get a few different ideas or a few different takes in these few renders here. Now this first one supposedly is a sneak peek, if you will, or a teaser of the actual Nismo design that we can expect to see on the Z. And to be honest, I certainly hope that it's not. I hope that this is not what we end up getting, because there's a few things about it that I just don't like. There's a couple things I do like, but first of all, the front bumper, man, is very strange. I totally understand why they chose to use the front vent areas or recesses that are on the sides of the front bumper to act as vents. I definitely understand that design decision, but I don't like the fact that they brought the red trim up along the sides of the vents. I don't think that looks good at all, especially from the side. It just looks very weird. You have this red trim that kind of comes up at that odd angle like that. So I understand that the vents are cool, they're functional there, but I hope that they don't go with that trim style. Same kind of thing along the side skirt, as we see the red trim trail up there just in front of the rear wheel. Very strange cutoff line there. I know again that that's a vent or something that would be there, and it would look better probably in 3/4 view as opposed to just the side profile. But when looking at it from the side, it looks very strange. I don't like how the vent line, it comes up in opposition to the door line there. It just looks very strange, like there's some odd triangle type of design sitting there on the side of the car. So I hope that's not official, though it could be something very similar to that. I do like the red trim along the katana on the side of the car, just above the window. I think that looks very cool. I like the red detailing there. The rear end of the car looks decent. It looks fine. The red trim follows the shape of the diffuser, which is just fine. I hope that the side and the front trim detailing is a little different than that. I do like the fact that we have the bar in the middle of the grille there now, so that's something that, if this is true, I'm going to be very happy about seeing that. And I would like to see a little bit of a wing on the back of it, and that is actually what we're going to see in a couple of the other renders here. But first, here's a couple more higher detailed versions of that design that we just saw. Again, you know, it's the vents in the front with the trim that are not sitting quite right with me, and that one on the side in specific that I really don't like. And the other thing to consider too is that, like there has been for previous versions of the Z, mainly the 370Z, there's likely going to be at least 2 different variations of the Nismo for the new Z. So if this is the official first offering of the Nismo version, it's probably not the final. So even if this is what we get at first, we can expect that there will be some kind of a revision that would have to be better than this along the way. This next one here is a completely new, different kind of rendering that takes a lot of inspiration from the GTR Nismo, and I don't think that we're going to be getting this much GTR inspiration in the new Nismo Z, but it's cool to see it in this rendition anyway. We see the front end that is essentially lifted from the GTR. Those ducts there are straight from the GTR Nismo there, as well as the bottom lip. The side skirts are very GTR Nismo as well. So while I understand that it's in Nismo's history to kind of keep the design elements in the family with among the different cars, I don't think that they're going to be borrowing quite this heavily. Also, the NACA ducts that you can see here on the hood lifted directly from the GTR Nismo, and the wing in the back is also the exact GTR Nismo wing that is used on that car. This next one here is essentially the same deal. I don't think that this is the same artist, but he had the same idea, that's for sure. We have very GTR style side skirts, GTR style lip, but without the ducts, so I think that that's probably more accurate than the last rendering. He used the same GTR spoiler, and in through the back here of this one, major crime committed here in actually using the actual GTR Nismo diffuser there in the back. That I can almost guarantee is not going to be the case for the new Nismo Z. Like I said, yes, they keep design elements in the family, but they do not copy one for one specific design elements from one car to another. So same thing with the wing. I think we're going to get a wing that's similar to that, but it's not going to be a carbon copy of the GTR Nismo detailing. So that is my opinion on that. Alright, and that is it. We have finally reached the end of all of our renderings here. If you made it all the way to this point, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Overall, I think that this is an amazing car. I'm so happy that Nissan loves the Z and loves the Z community enough to give us a new generation of Z, and I couldn't be more excited for what's to come for this platform. You just already know that the aftermarket is going to be insane for this. It's going to make it even better. The Nismo versions that are coming, it's going to be awesome, and the performance is out of this world for a Z car. So as Z fans, we really have a lot to be excited about. So I hope you will agree that this is a very cool time to be a Z fan. Thank you again for watching this video. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I am really trying to build this channel back up again, get it going. So expect to see more content like this in the future. If there's anything in specific that you guys want to see from me from this channel, if you want me to review cars, or if you just want to send me submissions of things you want me to talk about, please feel free. I am open to all of your comments, suggestions, or whatever you got. Criticism, it's all good. Just let me know down in the description box. You can also hit me up on Instagram at SiegeStyle. I love hearing from you guys. So with that, thank you again, peace out, and God bless.